Hello ladies, gentlemen and others, I'm George Jones aka The Peculiar Lefty, and welcome to day one of my 31 Days of Horror. Two things. First of all, yes, I know most people do that in the run-up to Halloween, but for various reasons I didn't, so I'll do it from Halloween onwards. Also, sorry about my voice, I've got a little bit of a cold at the moment. With any luck that'll be gone in a couple of days, so you won't have to listen to the rest of my videos with me sounding like this. Anyway, film number one. Threads. Oh my god, Threads. Seriously, if you think you've seen it all, if you think you've seen every horrifying film under the sun and there's nothing cinema can throw at you anymore, watch this, because believe me, this beats everything else. Right, a Serbian film, Funny Games, Hostel, whatever, they aren't shit next to this. I mean, most films aren't shit in general, but even just in terms of being a truly, truly grueling cinematic experience, Threads makes the nastiest piece of torture porn look like Thomas the Tank Engine. And the best thing is, it does that with barely any gore. Threads manages to be 10 times as horrifying as any of the Saw films without resorting to any of the cheap shock tactics that those films employ. Right, I'll back up a bit. Threads is, for those who don't know, a 1984 BBC television drama directed by Mick Jackson, who also directed The Bodyguard, interestingly enough. It's essentially a drama about what the results of a nuclear war would look like, and yeah, it's every bit as brutal as it sounds. The thing about it is, it's not a post-apocalyptic film in the standard Hollywood style. You know, those films, they're all sort of optimistic in one way or another. Even The Road, which is the obvious point of comparison, all the horror is balanced out with aesthetics. In the book, you have the majesty of Cormac McCarthy's prose, and in the film you've got the visuals that kind of have the same quality as the descriptions in the book. These huge landscapes that are devastated and devastating, but still somehow beautiful. You get none of that with Threads. What you have instead is this detached, almost documentary-style film about a nuclear holocaust. And it is, let me tell you, the hardest thing that I've ever had to watch. Just on like a purely emotional level, the horror that these characters experience and the lack of hope is really draining on the viewer. This is one of those films where at the end of it you feel like you've gone through something. You know, like it's some kind of ordeal, not just a film, but something you will almost have to force yourself to sit through. I mean, I couldn't watch it all in one go, you know, I had to watch half of it and then sort of wait a few days, you know, because I noped the fuck out. I was like, not handling all this right now. Went back a couple of days later, watched the rest. Yeah, and like part of what makes it so hard to watch is the way the film drags. With most post-apocalyptic films, you get like a quick introduction to the characters, and then the big catastrophe happens within 20 or 30 minutes. In Threads, it takes 3/4 of an hour, and that whole time it seems inevitable, not in the usual predictable way, but in the sense that the filmmakers want you to feel that this thing is bearing down on you and there's nothing you can do about it. It's, you know, partly because you already know what the film is about, you know it's about a nuclear apocalypse, but it's the way the story is told. The writer really gives the impression that there's no way out for these characters, that they're completely and utterly fucked in a way we just cannot imagine. Another thing that marks Threads out is the way it focuses on the characters. When you see ruined buildings in this film, you're not seeing these big special effects landscapes designed to impress you. You're seeing it through the eyes of the people who've lived in those buildings, who built their lives around them. The emphasis isn't on how cool it looks when a city gets blown up. It's about how awful it is to live in a city that gets blown up. And that is a key difference. I mean, ultimately, I don't know if I can recommend this, just because it is so bleak and so punishing, and there's really no payoff. There's no satisfaction at the end of it that you get with most horrific films. Yeah, I didn't like it so much. It was something that I sat through and that I was impressed by on a purely, you know, like it's impressive that they could make something that difficult. But I don't know, like the thing is, Threads was made at a time when nuclear war was a real threat, and it was made with the purpose of convincing people that nuclear war had to be avoided at all costs. So it makes sense on a functional level for it to be 112 minutes of unrelenting suffering, that it does make for a pretty unrewarding watch. Anyway, it's available on Vimeo. You can watch the whole thing for nothing. And yeah, thanks for watching. Feel free to leave feedback in the comments section, like, share and subscribe. And I will be doing 30 more of these videos, one a day for the next 30 days. So enjoy, folks.